I'll call this meeting to order. It is 6:30 on the dot. Look at us. Joe Roy and Rebecca Polsker are both excused tonight, so it's just the three of us. We have a quorum. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any amendments to the agenda? No. Right. No public comment. There's nobody here. So approve the meeting minutes from April 8th, 2025. Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No? All in favor? All right. Old business, signing of the Sawyer Cemetery conveyance letter. This is a letter that Ms. Larrabee needed us to sign. It just says this letter is to formally confirm that the town of Durham voted to accept the conveyance of the Durham Sawyer Cemetery at the annual town meeting held on April 5th, 2025. We appreciate your efforts and contributions in facilitating this process, and we look forward to continuing to preserve and care for this important historical site. If you have any further questions or require documentation regarding acceptance, please feel free to reach out to the town office. This is something that we supported and the town voted on. And so I think we should vote on accepting the letter. Any edits or anything? Motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the letter as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 3-0. All right, new business. Signing of the RC5 budget validation referendum warrant and notice of election. So that is, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, so this is I'm going to give you guys the numbers that they have come up with, and this is what's on the website. And so those are the proposed numbers. So there'll be the Tri-Town meeting, the annual budget committee meeting. That is actually happening in Durham this year. They take turns in the town. So that is on May 14th at 6:30 at the Durham Community School. So that's kind of like town meeting. The voters come in, they check in with me, I give them a voting card, they go in and they get to vote on the budget, on the school budget.
And then after that meeting, it's a referendum vote.
Correct, yeah. So they would do any adjustments that they would have at that meeting.
So if people are interested in making, I think it's really important because a lot of people talk about how they feel like we don't have any say or any control regarding the school budget. This meeting on May 14th is the meeting to attend in order to make any item, any article change before it goes out to the referendum vote. So I'll make sure that I make a Facebook post to make sure that people know that if they want to change any items in the school budget,
on any
this is the
articles.
one that they
Yeah.
up or down or whatever. This is the meeting to do it.
I believe when it was at the school a couple years ago, I think I had 21 registered voters from Durham attend. Last year when it was in Freeport, I believe we had like I think 6.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Do you remember what time? May 14th at
Yep,
6:30.
6:30.
6:30. Okay.
And what day of the week is that? Let's see. The 14th is a Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday. And we'll put it in the news blast.
Do you think well, I think they call. I think that.
Oh, you're right, they do.
Please put it in the news
Yeah.
blast, but I was gonna say maybe that's something that we text, but then I do think that
They do.
the town stuff is different than the school stuff, and I think that the school definitely calls, and perhaps they might also text, but they definitely call.
So
They
what
call
if they
the-
call
They
parents?
call,
Parents of
they
students.
call if
Yeah,
you're
student.
registered, right, that's true, they call if you're registered in the automated system, so like if you get a call that school's canceled, you're gonna get this call.
Exactly.
But it's not everybody, so maybe we should do the town text, what do you think?
I think it's the biggest part of our budget. What does this say? We're come up with $3.655 million.
Oh,
So-
I think our portion is,
That's this
Right
total
here.
raised. Well, our portion is a 9 million.
oh, right, yeah.
But the amount that we're raising
Yeah.
in assessments is over $3.5 million, so,
Right.
I think people will wanna come out here. I wanna talk about the texting thing during the board member reports, but I think this, because it's such a big portion of the budget and there's discussion, I think, you know, if people truly wanna discuss the budget, it's something they should come to, so I'm in support of having the text
Yeah.
message go out.
Me too.
But I also think it should be in the news blast and
All the places.
Facebook, yeah.
all, and the town website and all that stuff, yeah. So we don't need to vote on the warrant, on that warrant, but we do need to,
You guys have to
vote on
sign.
the warrant and notice of election calling. And that's for the election on June 10th. And that'll take place at the AMVets, 1049 Roseboro Road, from 8 to 8. And so, do you want to review this, read it out loud, or are we okay?
I think if as long as this is, I mean, I'm sure that's on the school website, but we'll put this on.
Yes,
our
I'll
web-
definitely put the numbers on there.
Yeah, okay. So I think it's fine.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept this warrant?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? All right. Passes. All right, we have two applications. We had a lengthy discussion in executive session at our last meeting about the applications. So, before we discuss those in public, I want to first have it, go back into executive session to decide if the three of us want to continue that discussion or how we want to handle this tonight. Is that,
I
that's
think that
okay?
makes sense.
Yeah. I think
Because
it
I
makes
think,
sense.
we kind of left, because we hit the time, we had to
Right.
finish the meeting, so I don't know if there's more to discuss. So we'll come back to the solid waste committee appointment application and the board of appeals appointment application. Jess, do you have anything to add in the manager's report?
I do, yep, I have a couple things.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. Okay, so first is, roadside cleanup is underway. I don't know if you guys have noticed the bags on the side of the road. Yep, so we're gonna be passing out those bags until, the end of this week, so it is gonna end on April 27th. That's when, Casella will stop picking them up, but if there's a couple strays, Calvin will pick them up.
That's this, or
So,
next,
it's like Sunday.
Sunday,
so,
okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that's underway, and then I just got this today, and what it is the Androscoggin County is requesting members from each town, residents from each town, for their budget committee. So, what's up, you guys? And what it is, the first, okay, so first they do a caucus to, elect the members, and that's gonna occur on Wednesday, May 21st at 6 PM at the Androscoggin County, building. Where, two residents from each town will be nominated. One resident has to be a municipal official, so that would be one of you or, Jerry. So I just wanted to make sure you guys had a heads up for that, so if we wanted to participate in the budget committee. Do you guys have any questions on that?
So, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So one has to be us, and then one can be just a resident that's not on a board currently, that lives in Durham.
Yep.
And so do we set a time frame? Like, are we gonna put that out there that we're looking for one resident? And like set a time frame for anybody that's interested to let us know?
So I think, because this meeting is on the 21st, we have one meeting between now and then. So if anyone's interested, they should probably fill out, send a letter of
Letter of
interest.
interest to.
Because I don't think the application, or the committee application we have is really appropriate.
Yeah.
But if people want to send a letter of interest to you, and we can review it at our next meeting.
Can you put that in the news blast?
Yes.
And also a Facebook post, like when we have a vacancy on a committee, can we just put that out there through those formats so that if someone's interested? Because I know that there was, during our budget conversation, there were people that brought up the county, how the
Yeah.
county tax had gone
Yeah.
up so much and wanted to have an opportunity to weigh in on that, so maybe there would be somebody who was interested.
Did we want to set a deadline for that letter of interest?
I think it needs to definitely be before our next
Before the
meeting.
next
I
meeting, is that what you
think
said?
by, we're
10,
meeting
15.
early on the 11th, I think. I mean, so I would say,
The 11th.
I'm okay.
I'd say by 5 o'clock,
Oh, that's the meeting where we're meeting early.
right? And we're meeting at 5:30,
On the 13th.
the 11th.
The 11th is a Sunday.
Oh, 14th? Or is it 14th? Oh.
Tuesday's
Oh,
the
13th, yes,
13th.
you're right, the 13th,
13th.
yes. Tuesday the 13th.
Okay, Tuesday.
So do you think we should send a note out to the budget committee, our budget committee, about this request? I mean, maybe somebody from that committee
Yep. Send one
would
out
be
to them first.
interested. I mean, I think,
I think it should be to the town, I think it should be, it's,
oh, to the town, I
Yeah.
was meaning in addition to that, but
To call their attention.
this is a courtesy. I don't know. This is a question.
I think it's something very different than the budget committee, than our budget committee.
Do you think there's a town notice would be
I think so.
fine? Okay. Who was our current representatives on this, do we know?
I don't know that we have any.
We've done it before, but I don't know.
Yeah, that was what some of the feedback was, is that one of us really needs to be there.
I know that, somebody from the budget committee last year went to a meeting and provided feedback that they took into consideration. I don't remember who or exactly what it was, but I know that a couple people went to at least one of their meetings, but it's, yeah, it's definitely something that we should be sending people to.
Yep. Get the information out there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last thing I have is, so, Peter Wagner, he runs the RSU5 community programs, in Freeport. So this is a program that they did, in Freeport. It's called Civics 101. So he asked me to bring this to you guys. So basically, it's kind of it's a program to inspire participants and residents to learn about local government and how things work. And so this is just how they did it. I talked to Peter about it, and he's flexible. And if we do it, they want to put it in the program, the catalog that they send out. Pownell said they were interested as well. I did talk to the Freeport town clerk today, and basically, they did like that module where it says town manager, town clerk. They did it kind of together, so like she went and did her, informative piece on what she does as the town clerk. And then like I think they had council members and then a manager go and just it was like a 2-hour session.
So I guess my question would be, like, I just start talking, sorry. Because a lot of this, well, I mean, obviously, public safety, like, if we were gonna do it in this type of format, it wouldn't obviously be exactly like this, because a lot of these things are
Right, we
all
don't-
Jerry.
Yeah, and like we don't have a library,
Right.
we don't police. Yeah,
Like the finance department, like, that's Jerry.
yeah.
Public Works, that would be, or Public Services, we could do, I mean, yeah,
So
so I think
maybe our-
maybe our format would look a little bit
Yeah.
different.
Right.
But, do you know how many people from Freeport attended this?
20. They capped it at 20 and they filled it with 20.
Wow.
And they got great feedback. I know Freeport's a little different, a little bigger. And yeah, so I just wanted to bring it to you guys. And,
I like the idea.
I love the idea.
Yeah, and I think it's flexible, like even if we don't, we don't plan anything right away. I think this is gonna maybe stick around as a program. So,
shoot, the last one was already, I would say I would tune into it to see what the format looks like, how they manage that, but,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
And I don't know if it's possible to maybe even combine with Pownell, you know, I don't know, but I think,
Yeah.
No, I think we all agree that it's something that if you would explore further.
yeah, if you guys, if you give me feedback and, because it would obviously, you know, it would be some staff, so their most of them are salary there, so some, you know, I don't know how we want to work that, but that's another aspect to think
Yeah.
about, but,
Right.
yeah.
If it gets more people involved, it's always a good thing, so.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay.
And that's all I have.
All right, board member reports. Deb, do you want to start?
Yep.
Oh, wait, did we start with you, did Joe start with you last time?
I think he goes down the list.
Okay, then we'll, I
Yeah, I
want to
think he
start.
does go down
Okay.
the list.
For some reason, I thought I started with you, I was gonna start with Heather, because she never gets to start.
I don't care, it doesn't hurt my feelings.
Okay, so I would like to inquire, and I did send a note to Joe about what it would take to connect, or to at least have internet at the Eureka Center. We had our solid waste meeting there on Monday, and so anyway, I just wanted to say it publicly and bring it out to you guys that someone brought it up. I think it's worth
So
exploring.
we looked at that a couple of years ago, it would have taken, it would take digging a trench from the town office, cutting down some trees, and doing some other stuff. It's a lot of work.
But I do remember that in our budget, when we did our budget, and we had all of that conversation about the technology fee and the this, the that, the other thing, a lot of that discussion hinged on and we're gonna get the report on that at our next meeting, and so I think after we have that, that will give us a better sense of the direction that we're gonna go in, and then we'll be able to figure out that, but we did set money aside.
Yeah, so it's relatively near term, well, I guess, I can't really say that either.
It's something,
It is
it's something.
it's a tough situation, especially we're holding meetings there and
Yes,
we can't
right,
do
yeah.
anything.
And Devin did mention there's a possibility that he's looked into of boosting the signal from here over to there, so that won't require any infrastructure. So I could talk to him.
So maybe
about that.
Jerry's having conversations, because Joe did tell me that
Yeah.
that was gonna be happening. We also requested, this is at our solid waste committee meeting, it came up, the door, the automatic door, the door that's, you know, it has a timer on it, sort of, so if you are handicapped or whatever to go in and out, it kind of goes a little bit too fast.
At
So,
the town office?
At the Eureka Center. So Calvin was gonna look at that, and maybe get that adjusted. So that was good. And there was an inquiry about what was the timeline of the new automated Casella bins and stuff, and I just got it confirmed that was July of next year.
Yeah, that's
So
what we thought.
that's all up to, that's not up to the solid waste committee. And that's about all I had. I know we do have some applicants for the solid waste committee in our package, which is good, because that group is looking forward to having a member.
Thank you.
Okay.
Heather, should we skip over you?
No. So at town meeting, we made changes to the Durham Historic District Commission. Their name changed and their role changed. And, I just want to make sure that there's clear communication and understanding of that between either us and them, or the town manager and them. I think a huge change took place, and there needs to be some sort of, understanding of that change and what that looks like now, because it's significant.
Yes.
And also what the makeup, not only of that commission, but all of our boards and committees and commissions, and what vacancies we have.
Yep.
To make sure that we're filling vacancies as needed, like an inventory.
Yes.
And then,
Reset.
right, and then also, because we have attorney coming to do FOA, that, I'm trying to close the loop here, we talked about it, but making sure that all of the boards and committees are invited
Yes.
to that and know that, and, you know what I mean? I just don't, maybe that's on someone's radar and that's getting taken care of, but
I
I
thought Jerry
think,
was gonna send that email.
okay, my brain just didn't close that loop. so I
Write it
just
down
wanted
to make
make
sure, yeah.
that that has happened, because that's coming up quickly, and I don't know if people have been notified or not. And maybe they have, but, and then the other thing is that I just wanna say thank you to all the residents who are taking part in the roadside cleanup. And also just call out Lee Bollier, Fisher, I don't know what her last name is. Lee Bollier Fisher. You know what I'm talking about, anyway, Lee,
Yeah.
thank you. She always really does like a campaign to try to get people to pick up a spot in town and get that part of the road cleaned up. And so I just appreciate everybody that's taking part in that, from now until, Sunday. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I'm gonna follow up, with, I already forgot what we're calling the,
I know, that's what I mean, like, I really wanna,
and that was something I meant to follow up with at our last meeting, is I wanted to ask if Joe and Jerry, or Jerry and I, or whoever, can sit down and make sure they understand the new role, and the historic district
I think it's
So,
president, I can't remember, I'm drawing a complete blank right now, but that's something I'll follow up with an email,
Okay.
to Joe and Jerry, because you're right, it's changed, and we need to make sure we're all on the same page of what their expectations are, they know what their expectations are. And also that, I think it's, Alan's gonna know when to contact them and how best to do that.
Right.
Uh,
Because
so-
I think it's really important, because there's actually deadlines now
Yes.
around like application reviews and that type of stuff. And so I think it's really important for them to understand that, you know, their role has significantly changed.
they have a meeting coming up on the 24th,
Okay.
and I've talked to David, he has 3 members right now, including himself, so.
Okay.
And do we set a number of members? Do we do 5 or 7? I can't remember anymore.
Historic district, I believe that it's in their bylaws,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
So I'll make sure that Joe and Jerry at least reach out to David and have that conversation, because I agree that's something that's important. The other thing that was mentioned to me, and I can't remember who mentioned it to me, we had a conversation in the last meeting about, the text messaging. And there was there were multiple comments on the Facebook page and other places about, why certain things don't get sent out, and a specific example given to me was the fire on Pinkenbrook Road. And one thing that we have to remember is that it's staff members who were sending that out, and so that happened at 8 o'clock at night. So they were off for the day, they may not have had access to everything, and so, not everything is going to be sent out in that system, because if it happens at night, if it happens on a weekend, when people aren't available, aren't able to do it, it just can't happen. So it's not a perfect system, but I think, from what I've been told, is some people were a little upset about how things were going and wanted that explanation out there.
Yeah. I think we need a policy.
I think we need a plan that has those hours covered somehow. I don't know what it would be, but, I mean, that's the purpose of the text messages. I mean, it won't still be perfect, but,
I mean, the problem is that, with the fire, who's gonna send that information? It's gotta come from the chief. And are we gonna ask him to take time out of doing what he's doing to provide Kimberly or Jerry or somebody that information?
I think we need to have a policy that, like, we go through and we outline and because like the fire department has a communications officer, public communications officer. And so I don't know, and we do not need to have this conversation right now, who has access to the town text messaging, right? But maybe in the public safety realm, that gets written into the public safety communication officer also has access, because that person is already communicating. They're not necessarily there at the fire, right? So maybe that person is the one doing it in that situation. And then, and again, this is something that we all have, like a policy that we can design and talk about of like the role of who is actually doing that communicating, given whatever the circumstances.
Yeah, and we've been talking about that need for policy for a long, long time, since we talked
Yes.
about it. So,
Yeah.
is there a volunteer to? No, we'll talk to Jerry
Yeah,
about,
get that one,
Yeah.
Jerry.
yep. Okay, that's all I can think of at this moment. There was something else I wanted to raise, but I can't remember. So, consent agenda, is there a, motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
In a second?
And I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? All right, upcoming meetings, there's a Conservation Commission meeting, April 23rd at the Eureka Center at 6:30. Historic District Commission meeting, although the name has changed, April 24th at the Eureka Center at 6:30. Planning Board meeting, May 7th, here at the fire station at 6:30. Agriculture Committee meeting, May 7th at the Eureka Center at 6. Solid Waste Committee, Monday, May 12th at the Eureka Center at 6:30. And our next meeting is May 13th at, I think we're meeting at 5:30,
Yeah, we'll have to correct that.
here at the fire station.
And just, I won't be here at that meeting. I'm in Florida. I won't be at the May 13th meeting.
Okay.
I'll watch, but I won't be here.
And I think we do need an executive session under, it's not written here, it's 1401A.
I can look it up on the old minutes if you want me
Is
to.
that
405F is,
405F?
just talking about confidential, I think, matters.
Okay, so 4056A1. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Second?
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, we'll go in. We're back on?
Back on.
All right, it is 7:19, we just came out of executive session. The issue still on the agenda is the solid waste and Board of Appeals appointment applications. And so I am looking, we started a discussion at our last meeting with all 5 of us here about appointments. And there was, there were some questions raised and some discussion topics that we were going through. And so in fairness to the 2 members who are not here, I'm looking for a motion to table these 3 applications and the applications that were tabled until tonight. There were 7.
Terry.
There were a few that were tabled tonight. To table them all until the May 27th meeting, which will be a busy meeting for us, but I think it's the next meeting where all 5 of us will be present. So is there a motion
So moved.
in a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Just that we're gonna contact the applicants and encourage them to attend whatever committee
Yes.
meeting they're applying for as a resident, just to continue to be in the know of what's happening at those committees until the discussion is had.
Yes.
And so I'll just add, I think this is an issue that we need to address, and it's just, the timing of it is unfortunate with absences, and there's nothing, obviously nothing we can do about that, but in fairness to all the members, I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree too.
So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Right, and is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Oh, I should also add, we do have the meeting on May 13th. We already discussed
We
that.
did, yeah, May 6th is just our, and that has to still get posted, the May
Yes.
6th, but it's just executive session public intent. But we still have